Strait of Hormuz could be inching back from the brink. And after months of war, blockades and threats, Iran says that a deal with Oman to reopen the strategic waterway is now in its quote-unquote final stages. But there is a massive catch. Iran says that the strait will not reopen simply because a shipping deal is ready. Tehran has put out a long list of demands on the table for Washington, from compensation for wartime damage to lifting sanctions and even ending what Iran calls US military threats. So is this a beginning of the war to end, or just another pause before the next escalation? Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araqchi has said that the negotiations with Oman over the new shipping lanes through the Strait of Hormuz are in their final stages. The proposed agreement would establish the routes commercial vessels could use once the strait is reopened. But Tehran says that the deal comes with conditions for Washington, and those conditions are aimed squarely at the US. Iran says that the US must first meet its demand before commercial shipping can return to normal. Listen in to what Iran's foreign minister had to say.
Our negotiations with Oman are regarding the determination of a new maritime route in the Strait of Hormuz. These negotiations have progressed well. I can say we are in the final stages, and the old existing routes will be replaced with new ones. Specialists are currently working on the maps. Of course, this does not mean the opening of the Strait of Hormuz. This agreement may take place, but the opening of the Strait of Hormuz is contingent upon the fulfillment of a set of other conditions, which have, in any case, been conveyed through intermediaries.
And now Tehran is demanding compensation for damage caused by the US attacks on Iran. But that is not the only part of the list. Iran has also demanded an end to further US military threats, an end to what Tehran calls aggression against Iran and its regional allies, removal of the US naval blockade in the Gulf, lifting of sanctions on Iran, and release of the frozen Iranian assets. But there is another major obstacle. Iran and the United States are still not talking directly. According to Tehran, messages are being exchanged through intermediaries. Iran also says that it will not enter direct negotiation, while Washington is allegedly violating an interim agreement reached in June. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump has struck a far more casual tone. Donald Trump told Axios that the US was only quote-unquote semi-negotiating with Iran, and said that Washington was essentially watching Iran struggle with inflation and financial pressure. And that is where the global stakes explode. The Strait of Hormuz is a critical route for global oil and gas shipments. Any prolonged disruption can send shockwaves through energy markets and push up the fuel prices around the world. Iran's restrictions on shipping have already created uncertainty for vessels trying to pass through the waterway. The US, meanwhile, says that commercial shipping could resume once Iran implements its commitments, with Washington then lifting its blockade of Iranian ports. But the sequencing is delicate. Who moves first, Iran or the United States? And there is another dramatic twist emerging from Washington itself. Reports suggest that Donald Trump could be willing to walk away from the demand for a new nuclear agreement with Iran if Tehran agrees to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. That could completely change the equation, because Donald Trump needs an exit from a war that has pushed up energy prices and created growing political pressure at home. Vice President J.D. Vance, meanwhile, says that the United States is still in the middle of the game. Washington says that the pressure is on Tehran and it will continue. So right now, the Strait of Hormuz has become more than a shipping lane. It has become a bargaining chip. Iran wants sanction lifted, Washington wants shipping restored, and Iran wants compensation. The US wants Tehran to back down. And caught right in the middle is one of the world's most critical energy arteries. The question now is simple. Will Hormuz reopen through diplomacy, or will the world's energy markets be forced to pay the price for another round of confrontation? And for more on this, I'm being joined by Major General Sudhakarji, is a retired defense and geopolitical expert. Major General, thank you so much for making out the time and joining us on the broadcast. Donald Trump's strategic objective in the start of the war was that I will not let Iran be a nuclear country. And now reports are suggesting that the Strait of Hormuz has become such a critical point in the war that Donald Trump is also willing to walk away from the negotiating table if Iran agrees to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, and they can talk about the nuclear deal later. What are your reactions on this?
Good afternoon, Nancy, for inviting me for your show. My take on the issue that you have raised is that there is one common factor which is deficient in the entire spectrum of expectations. That common factor is actually trust. So to lay it down in simple terms, the lack of trust is dominating both the stakeholders. And as of now, I do not visualize either of the options which you have outlined in your preamble would take place. What I mean is that Iran would stick to its points. Iran is demanding everything on its terms, firstly to be accepted by USA, and only then it would abide by the expectations or the demands of USA. What is the demand of USA as of now? Now everything has been put aside. It is now focusing on to opening of Strait of Hormuz. If it is Strait of Hormuz, your point, central point is that is it leading to another round of confrontation? Possibly yes, but that confrontation is fraught with many challenges.
Okay.
That confrontation is basically is what Donald Trump has been toying around with prior to previous preceding 7 days. But of late, he's gone quiet on it because suddenly he has started listening to his advisors that his stockpile reserve of critical ammunitions, namely the interceptors, the Patriot missile, the Tomahawk missile, they're in great acute shortage or they have gone below the dangerous level of acceptance. So the
Right.
depletion level is so alarming that it will be very difficult for the defense industries to make it up. Why is it so? Why can't they make it up? Because we are getting the news from American media that they have been asked to actually double down so that the production level speeds up.
Right.
People to understand that the production level of all these equipments cannot be speeded up because each of them have got a gestation period of production. For
Correct.
example, interceptor requires something close to 1.5 to 3 years for production.
Okay.
And same is the case with Tomahawk, as also the Patriot missile. Now, each of these, besides the timeline, they require certain quantum of the rare earth element and the magnet, special variety of magnets which are processed by China. Plus, China has been weaponizing because the relationship between USA and China is blow hot and blow cold. One doesn't know which side is playing what game. There is another very intense rate of very lack of trust there. So therefore, if China weaponizes, then the production time required from each of these three examples I have given, there are many more, because each of them requires certain quantum which is readily not available. Let me also disclose one more important input.
Right.
USA at any point in time, as per the strategic reserve principle and the guideline, they're supposed to maintain something close to 90 days of stockpile. This is, I'm talking of a rare earth element and also magnets on a very balanced or accepted rate of attrition or consumption or expenditure of this ammunition.
Right.
Out of 80 days, till 1 month back, they had come down to 60. About 5 or 7 days back, I have actually joined the dots. My conclusion is that they are below 30 days. Even there also it's very alarming. So they can't actually empty out everything and go ahead
Absolutely.
with the confrontation.
Right.
And confrontation, even if it is aerial bombardment, Nancy, you need to understand that in the military science, never ever any aerial bombardment alone without forces on the ground have actually led to a decisive victory. So if Donald Trump is actually looking for an off-ramp, first thing is that if he goes in for the confrontation, he has to go in for adequate stockpile reserve, number
Right.
one. Number two, he also has to ensure that there are boots on ground, which USA is not prepared. They have no appetite to accept the body bags. And third and most important point is that all these, since they are unlikely to lead to any kind of conclusive end, diplomacy dialogue is the only option left for both the for USA at least. And diplomacy dialogue, Iran has got a better and greater say. Iran wants to resolve issues on its terms, not on the terms of USA. Back to you, please.
Major General, since you mentioned that Iran, the difference between the leaders also talking about coming back to negotiating table, you can clearly see that Iran is approaching the negotiations with the conscience that we have an upper hand on the negotiations. Do you think that Iran is smartly using Strait of Hormuz as a leverage to make sure that Washington is fulfilling the demands, whatever they are asking, whether it be releasing the frozen assets, whether it is to pay compensation for the war damage as well?
Nancy, brilliant question, but I would like to correct your question by saying it's not a smart move by Iran. It's a very practical and pragmatic move by any
Okay.
country. Even if it was not Iran, any XYZ country which is contiguous to Strait of Hormuz is bound to take advantage and exploit the geography. And the geography is in favor of Iran. That has to be understood by one and all. Second issue that needs to be understood is that you can come to a resolution, you can come to a firm and final solution, provided either of the party, or in this case, USA has got a very decisive victory. Unfortunately, that is not the case. USA has not had the victory. It is Iran which has won the war. Since Iran has won the war, the MOU signed on 17th of June has come out in 14-point agenda or 14-point kind of a MOU. And the wordings of each of the points in the MOU, they actually reflect uh, everything except for having lost the war. That means they have actually won the war and they have gone in for the MOU based on their conditions. They have laid down the conditions on their terms. It is unlikely that Iran is going to come down from that high point. Rather, they will keep adding onto the MOU, and you'll keep finding amplification of each of the points, a revised kind of an MOU coming up for acceptance. And last but not the least, as part of this answer to your question, is that USA would do well to focus on diplomacy and dialogue. And diplomacy and dialogue at the moment cannot actually rest on flip-flopping the decision. It has to be should be relying on a kind of a credible, consistent, and I would say predictable kind of a commitment made by USA. They have to talk directly one to one, not through Pakistan and Qatar. These are serious negotiations. And last point I have is anything which has got a global implication, Nancy, this is to be understood.
Right.
This is my conclusion for having joined the dots for so long, that Strait of Hormuz is not a local issue. It is not a regional issue.
Absolutely.
It is a global issue which is impacting the world order. Nobody is being spared. I firmly believe and strongly recommend that regardless of what has happened in the past, call out the global leaders. The P5 must come in. China should be there. It is China's intervention which is going to be respected by Iran if at all some peace and firm and final resolution is being expected. Back to you, please.
Major General, let's say that if Donald Trump is able to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, do you think that he will be able to sell the American people this illusion of victory to save himself through the midterm elections?
Excellent question you have raised. There is no question, like last time when your one-on-one interview between you and me, you had asked almost similar question.
Right.
There is simply no question of Donald Trump actually making any headway of a breakthrough. If at all there is going to be a breakthrough, it is last time the MOU, 14-point MOU was a sailover. It was a surrender document. This
Right.
time the MOU is going to be a super surrender document. There is simply no option. Iran is retaining the initiative to retaliate for every projectile launched by America, and if it hits anywhere in the Iranian soil, it is going to be retaliated very massively. And that massive retaliation has got the potential to further spread towards Red Sea. As such, Red Sea is already under influence and is being choked time and again. The Saudi Arabia port, Yanbu, is also being hit time and again by the Houthis. So therefore, there is a great danger of expansion of the sphere of conflict. And further beyond that, Egypt also reported a couple of days back that some kind of drones had strayed into their territory. They've hit their some of the civilian areas or some military assets. So besides this particular danger, I do not visualize any kind of resolution unless Donald Trump scales down his demand and accept things on Iranian terms. And Iranian terms means what? They have to start with your frozen assets have to be defrozen.
Right.
The naval blockade has to be removed. Number three, all the sanctions which have been imposed till now, they must be lifted. And number four, the sovereignty and the territorial integrity. Take your mind back to the 14 points in MOU. They will not be questioned. Number five, there has to be a guarantee that Iran is never going to be attacked by USA. So
correct.
this kind of assurances and guarantee in today's time, no superpower. USA is superpower. To answer your last part of of your question is Donald Trump. This man is known for fictional victories. You know, all these things between you and me would be termed as a kind of a victory for Iran, but he will couch it in such a frame or such a manner that he will sell it as a fiction. For us, it will be a fictional victory. For him, it will be a victory. The point is whether the USA citizens will accept this or not. I don't think so. USA citizens are worldly wise. They are keeping their eyes and ears open. They know what exactly is happening. People are saying there are only 23 or 18 or 19 fatal casualties. But if you join the dots in the social media, the figure is going beyond 600. I am
Correct.
not actually claiming, I have no evidence. I am only going through the social media statistics. So 600 body bags have already reached USA. How they are actually stage managing is that anybody who's injured, he's being evacuated to Germany. If he dies in Germany hospital, it is shown as death in Germany hospital because of some of the cause, not during the conflict.
Due to
So
the
that
war.
is actually, you know, you are playing hide and seek. You are playing actually, you know, kind
Trying
of
to
a,
save face and
yes.
trying to
So
win the
there-
narrative, if not the war.
Correct. So when you are talking about the off-ramp or dignified, honorable exit, that will happen only if USA achieves so kind of a hands-down decisive victory against Iran, which is simply impossible. Therefore, they have to accept what Iran is demanding, and that acceptance of Iran's demand would entail that he has to go back with a sullen face and without a face-saving kind of exit, and tell the people the way he wants to tell. So therefore, there are multiple games which are opening up. One is Saudi Arabia. For all you know, this off-ramp thing may stretch beyond his presidency. It may outlast beyond his presidency. He's looking for a suitable, viable, and substantive off-ramp. Abraham Accord is a possible and potential kind of opportunity and objective, which he may not succeed. But he's like, hope is everything in human life and society. Therefore, he's hoping for the best. Whether it will happen or not, I don't know. This card with Saudi Arabia may play out in his favor, may not play out, but this conflict is unlikely to actually, you know, end abruptly.
Right.
Best solution for Donald Trump, if I may recommend, rather than getting deeper and deeper into the blind well of not knowing where to go, it would be better for him to take a sharp, abrupt, and a blind U-turn and
Okay.
get back to Cuba or Greenland or is the hinterland, I would say the mainland of USA, and do whatever he wishes to, because this particular conflict is heading for a kind of a disaster which the world has not witnessed till date. Back to you, Nancy.
Well, thank you so much, Major General, for joining me on the broadcast with those meaningful insights.